Good evening, Hyperspinners. Today we're going to be talking about the LCD Hypermarquee display, so get ready. Alright guys, so story time again. This essentially came to me for free, believe it or not. This is an LCD Vitrolite marquee. I think it's 30 inches, and essentially, I make artwork on Hyperspin. I distribute it, and there was a user on Hyperspin on the forums who was looking into, purchasing one of these marquees. So I told him, I was always wanting one, and I just thought they were too much. And I still think they're too much, but it's absolutely awesome for free, don't get me wrong. So I'm definitely using it on my setup, and just to let you know what happened, the Vitrolite company basically sent this user the marquee here, and he tried to plug it up and it would not turn on. So essentially, there's a little ribbon cable here. I tried to take the bezel off so you could actually see it, but basically there's that little ribbon cable that you can actually press to turn on the monitor. There's a couple options there. You can zoom in, you change the resolution essentially. Basically your standard sort of modes, if you will. This LCD is essentially a pre-cut LCD, like TV, essentially. I don't know how they do it, but it does, in fact work. And I wanted to kind of, showcase how I am basically displaying a default image here, as well as, basic setup here. So how I got this in to finish the story here, the guy that had this marquee, he was like, hey, this isn't working. And I told him I didn't really have a whole lot of experience other than just setting up Hypermarquee itself, and he essentially requested his money back with the company. And from there, they basically allowed him to purchase a new one at half price, because this stuff essentially comes from China, and yeah, it just takes a long time. So the dude was pretty upset, rightfully so. But it worked out for him, because he essentially got one of these things for half price. And, I basically, private messaged him asking him, like, hey, if you're going to trash the monitor, go and shoot it over to my address, and, I'll see if I can tinker with it. And lo and behold, I was able to fix it. And something that you guys might want to do when and if you ever purchase one of these is you want to make sure that the capacitors are all securely fastened, as well as all the wiring is, all hooked up, securely as well. That was the main issue here. The capacitors were basically, not connected. So I just had to, put those on the motherboard more securely, and it eventually worked. There was some weird coloring at first. It was sort of like a purple tint across the board, but playing with those capacitors more, it worked. So that is the story that I've got here. This LCD monitor was essentially sent to me for free, and I didn't pay a dime for it. Awesome. So I'm going to show you how it's used in action. I'm also going to show you the board behind here and how I kind of mounted this, and how I've essentially connected it to my cabinet here. So I'm going to kind of zoom in here a little bit. Essentially, these railings here for your marquees are holding it in. So just behind this is essentially a metal case. There's no way to mount it to wood. I'm sure you could jimmy rig this thing, but yeah, that's all there is. It's just fitting in here by these railings, and it does a great job. One thing I had to do, you can kind of see here, I had to kind of scrape out maybe a 1/4 inch of wood here, and what seemed to work best was with an X-Acto knife, believe it or not. but I had to do that across the board. You can see I also did it here. I have a, what do you want to call it? You know, a hand portable saw. That's not the right word, and I'm gonna get blown up on the comments here, but a Dremel saw, I think is what it's called. But you know, I use that as a starter here. I mean, I went all the way across here because I didn't want to take apart, you know, the cabinet here, and then I also had to take out, you know, basically a 1/4 inch of wood with the top part as well. And again, that X-Acto knife, believe it or not, did wonders here. But, you know, let's be honest, you know, I tore up my fingers a little bit doing it, you know, because I am playing with knives, and, you know, kids don't do that at home. It's not safe. But, you know, if you're careful, you know, you can start filleting wood off of the, you know, the railings there very quickly. So, yeah, I mean, it took when I say quickly, it probably took an hour or two to do, believe it or not. But essentially that monitor just fits right in there. And how I'm going to cover these slots that you can see there's about 1 inch, maybe 1.5 inches. You essentially can purchase marquee, you know, plastic here. And, you know, you can kind of see it's a little glossy here, but it also, I've got that around the base here as the bezel, and, you know, it looks nice. So I'm going to basically do that here as well. I mean, this will fit perfect. What I'll do is I'll try to find the link that I got for this lovely, I don't know, 8-inch sheet, I'm going to say. I don't know. But there's, you know, two sides. One's a little more, you know, grainy. The other's more glossy. I'm going to go with the grainier side just so it matches the rest of my bezel. But yeah, I'm going to also kind of go in here. I'm going to slide my phone through here so you can see the board itself. So I'm going to go ahead and flip the phone. So prepare to get dizzy here. And here we are. Let's see if you can see the board itself. So you can see it's just sitting in there. The railings are basically holding it all in there, and it's definitely secured. You can see there's the motherboard itself. I mean, it's self-explanatory in terms of the setup, in terms of, you know, plugging everything in. You know, there's just some cords, and you plug those in to the slots. So there is a VGA wire that's going down inside my cabinet. So I guess I'll go ahead and open up my cabinet here so you can see it. And I'm going to turn on the light here. And I recommend one of these lights just on the side here. So, you know, it kind of lights things up. I try to use some duct tape here just to kind of hold some things together. You know, it doesn't really do a really good job for the wires. I mean, there's a lot of wiring here, as you can see. But you don't see that ever, you know, because this thing's open. I've got a smart switch here that, you know, will turn everything on, you know, when I push a button on the back of my cabinet. But what I was trying to show you is, you know, this is the power supply to that LCD, and something that also needs to be aware here is that light needs to be blue. It might blink, and that just means that it's got a poor connection. So really, that's all there is to it. There's a VGA connection to a USB, you know, adapter that I've got. But outside of that, that's all there is to it, guys. So that is the LCD, and I'll show it off here. Okay, so before I showcase the Hypermarquee setup on the display, I wanted to show you how to get the display on just a standard display on your LCD. So what you can do is go to Personalize. I'm on Windows 10 here, and since it is a second monitor, all we've got to do is find a display or a background picture, and what we're going to do is just right-click, and we're going to select Monitor 2. So you won't be able to see the screen capture here, but you know, you select Monitor 2, which is the other LCD, and it will display just this image here. So something I wanted to point out here, you can see in the picture here. What I did is I took the background picture for my monitor 1, which is what you see here, the black screen here, and then what I did is I set on top the image that I wanted to display in the default. So what is kind of interesting is I'm going to choose a fit of fill, and then it will just basically display this top image here. So what's interesting here is you kind of got to play with you know, how this you know, lines up to your monitor. And what I'll do is I'll include on the FTP the location of the file that I'm using, so you can kind of use that as a template. I'm sure if you use a slightly different size marquee, which, you know, I'm using a 30-inch, you might need to tinker around with the size itself, but you'll want to do something similar. And what I'm trying to do is get to the Emmy Movies FTP, and under the official Ninja's Dojo, and then under screensavers, just under the Ninja's Dojo folder, you'll find the background that I'm using, and then the background with the marquee. So what I'll do is I've got this on my computer, but since we're here, what I'll do is I'll just download this to my desktop so you can you know, quickly see this, or, you know, the documents folder here, just somewhere. Let's go ahead and just do this. And what you'll do is you'll use this as sort of a template. I'm going to go to Documents, and here's the marquee. And then what you'll see is that's how I got this to display on my marquee so easily. So, you know, I've got my resolution for my main monitor, which is the 1280 by 720. That's just the, you know, the resolution that the monitor supports. And then what I had to do is I just used this sort of framework here, and I just kept playing with it until it fit perfectly on my LCD screen. So when I use the fit, you know, mode for the picture, when I'm changing my backgrounds, it just slaps that right on there and it fills everything out. So my main monitor, so when I, you know, right click, I've got set for, you know, monitor 2, that's for the marquee, and for the background picture I've chosen, you know, this base that has nothing on it. So, you know, set up your main monitor background first, and then, you know, right click and do the monitor 2. So that's the best way that I found to get this to set up as a default image on your marquee. And let's go ahead and showcase this so you can kind of see how this works. Basically it transitions, Hypermarquee transitions into the new marquee, and I use the Ninja To Be Seen Presents as the sort of filler in between. You can play with it, you know, however you like, but I you know, it added a little flair the way I've got it set up. So let's go ahead and check that out. Alright guys, so the main menu essentially has the same marquee, and you can see as it loads, I've got the default image on my marquee screen. And yeah, just try to keep it all consistent. We'll go to consoles here. Yeah, sorry for having the video upside down earlier, but you know, we got this thing taken care of here. So we'll just scroll through some of this quick. So in a lot of these marquees were made by Retro Humanoid, which does a great job. Also note that the marquee supports video formats, so you can really get creative with a lot of this. So I'm going to go ahead and back out of this. And we're going to go to MAME here. So let's take a look. And we'll kind of look at the actual game themes as well for these marquees. Kind of stretching here so I can get the keyboard action going here. So yeah, there you have it. So it really streamlines the whole look and feel to this. It kind of brings you back to the original arcades themselves. You know, and the majority of these marquees are very well made. A lot of these you can find throughout the net. I've done a lot of filtering on you know, what the good and bad marquees look like. So, you know, the pack that I've put on the FTP, you can see that there is a little glare on that one. but in terms of the resolution, you know, it's all fitting very nicely. So you're not going to see anything that's you know, bloated, if you will. So yeah, and if there's no marquee per the game, it'll just display the default. And I've put this pack of the marquees on the FTP on Emmy Movies, and same sort of location on the official Ninja's Dojo, and under Hyperspin there's a zips folder, and within that zip folder you'll find a Hypermarquee folder, and you'll find all of the marquees here that you're seeing. You know, there's a ton more here, and you know, always check out Retro Humanoid to get his official pack for the systems. But in terms of the game marquees, you will find those you know, on the FTP. But yeah, that is all there is to it, guys. It adds a lot of flair. You know, if you're in the market for one of these, it definitely adds a lot to it. I was fortunate enough that this came free to me, you know, just trying to help a guy out, and it actually helped me out, which is how it usually works out. But anyhow, that is Hypermarquee, and I hope that helps you guys, and then I'll catch you next time.